So I'm back here again to finish off what I was talking about here. So the coalition dynamics have flipped over the last decade. So now the high propensity voters happen to be Democrats. And again, I still am yet trying to figure out what the Democratic Party truly stands for, because they still seem anemic and weak in my mind. But the Republican Party again is stuck in that cult with the Donald Trump and MAGA, which right now is imploding. But the problem with politics in this day and age is they always try to jump on where they think the wind is blowing, the next trend, the next hype. They're doing what all these other industries are doing right now because they effectively become a corporate conglomerate advertisement industry. Okay? And that's been the problem for so long. And now the high propensity voters have to be Democrats because now they appeal to the educated and suburbanite voters who are high propensity voters. They will always show up to the polls and vote. Okay. Now, Donald Trump rebuilt the coalition with the GOP when he got more working class people and minorities to vote for him. And I think part of that was due to the branding of the Democratic Party, too. I think they moved more towards we appeal to the institutions, the educated, the elite, and all that. And the culture war stuff had a lot to do with it. And the GOP fed into the rage of the electorate. Okay. But when you build your party on culture wars, that's always a doomed disaster of either party. And you're going to witness the fruits of that. Now the GOP is doing the culture war stuff, thinking they can distract people. It's not going to work this time because people are still going to care more about their pocketbook than anything else. And at the end of the day, yeah, people have their fractionated views about social politics. But what really animates people, moves people to the polls, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's their pocketbook. Whether we all want to acknowledge that reality or not, it's their pocketbook. If you are not producing value to their life as an elected official and as a political party, and you have trifecta power, you're not doing anything to make their life better, they're going to take notice, and they're going to take it out on them on the ballot in the ballot box. Okay, regardless of what they talk about, regardless of what people's personal views are. Okay, a lot of people may agree with some of these people on abortion or trans issues or LGBTQ plus but at the end of the day, they're going to care more about their pocketbook. Okay, that's ultimately what people care about. How are they doing economically? And how much they're paying at the grocery store. How their quality of life's getting better or worse. Okay, those are always going to be the most important things in people's lives. And of course, their personal freedoms. If they feel their personal freedoms are being restricted, that's also going to animate the American electorate. Okay, so I believe the Democratic Party made a slightly grave mistake. I think COVID hurt them a little bit during the shutdowns because people were mad about being stuck at home. Even though COVID was handling COVID, doing COVID the way it was done was to protect people's health, which was obviously number one, and lives. But I think COVID did weaken their hand a little bit, even though Trump lost in 2020. And I think that's what swung with a lot of Hispanic voters towards Trump because they were mad about the COVID shutdowns and they blamed more the Democratic Party on it than the Republican Party because the Democrats were calling for the shutdown and the mask mandates and all that. And that hurt the Democratic Party branding. Okay, and then they stopped doing door-to-door and political organizing. They stopped talking about the stuff that mattered to people. And that strengthened the hand of the GOP. Because what the GOP talked about is don't you want more money, more jobs, money, money, money. Don't you want to go back to work so you can make money again? And again, everybody aspires to that. Okay. So the pendulum kind of started swinging to the right over the years. From 2020 on. Started swinging back to the right. But where the Democrats benefited is the high propensity voters always showed up and voted. And they voted for Democrats. The people that were educated, the people that were institutions and worked for the government, people that were educators, people that went to college. Those are the most active voters in the country. So those voters in my generation growing up used to be conservatives. They were what we call the suburban mom and dads. The suburban people. The suburban, It's flipped. So the educated voters are now leaning Democratic. So that's helped the Democrats at a lot of elections. As you see, they're not losing elections like they used to. The low propensity voters, on the other hand, flipped towards the GOP. And it kind of started in 2020. And it only escalated from 2020 to now, 2024, now into 2025, 2026. It remains to be seen. I think that pendulum's going to swing again a little bit. But now the Republicans have the low propensity voter issue because those people that swung towards the GOP don't vote every election. And it remains to be seen if they're going to vote in 2026. But I have a hint that some of them will show up and they'll vote for Democrats instead because they're mad about the economy. They're mad about their personal freedoms being attacked. And again, I warned if any party goes too far one direction on certain issues, it will destroy their party. And the GOP overreached when it comes to ICE, immigration customs, when it comes to deportations, when it comes to Trump's tariffs, when it comes to... They made so many mistakes in such a short amount of time that you didn't have to be a Democrat to see this was going to be a disaster for them. You could have just been an independent, observant voter, just an independent-minded person and watch what was going on and go, are they heading for the iceberg or what? And the answer is yes. So, it's just because they're governing their party to only serve their donors and to serve their cult leader. And that's not what the American people voted for. Now, as much as I want to say that's what they voted for because they voted for a guy I didn't like, it's not what people actually voted for, even though I think in my heart in some ways they did. Because I knew the reality. But a lot of people didn't vote for this. A lot of people voted for lower grocery prices, a fix to the immigration system, and their taxpayer dollars going in their pocket. And guess what? They're not getting the fruits of any of that. So here we are. And now the GOP spent their decades winning off misinformation. But now the more educated people are informing themselves and they're voting for the Democrats. That is in return going to hurt the GOP. Because the age of information is so much more now than it used to be 20 years ago. Even though we got a lot of misinformation out there, there's a lot of accurate information out there also. Now you're seeing the types of media that's growing and expanding. It's now left-wing and independent media. All right. So the mistake the GOP made is they went too far into the cult of personality and too far into misinformation to get support. But eventually that mask is going to come off. And it's going to destroy them. And they're going to have to rebrand and build as a party. Both parties have to work on each other, though. Okay? They just have to. And the Democrats, I just always said they had to go back to the roots of working class people. Okay? That way these disgruntled voters or independent voters, working class people, don't go vote for the GOP. They can gain the working class back. And they can also still have the educated suburbanites. You can do both. Because the suburbanites are not going to swing back to the GOP because you suddenly become populist. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, the reason why they moved away from the GOP is because they got educated and informed about the issues. And they realized how radical the GOP is. And they realized the leader of the GOP is Trump. And that turned off a lot of educated voters. Okay? Now, if you fear that the Democrats will pick somebody similar, I got something to tell you. It's not going to happen. Okay? You'll never find a Democrat as outraged and as crazy as Donald Trump. Okay? So, becoming progressive and fighting for progressive values and standing your ground for truth and justice, okay, is not going to turn off educated voters. If anything, it might embolden their support. And you build the double coalition. And you get back the voters you lost. So anyways, all I want to say to y'all is have a great night. See you later. Goodbye.